Welcome back to the channel, where apparently I only talk about superhero movies here, and today we're talking about Thor number 4, Thor Love and Thunder. And after seeing it, I can safely say it was underwhelming. It's strange because I think that this movie embodied everything that's wrong with the MCU in Phase 4 right now. This movie has all the MCU issues that have been present since Endgame came out. I do very much want to say that this movie is not bad, and it definitely isn't the worst MCU movie by far. I'm gonna assume that most of you have already seen the movie, so you probably already know what the biggest issue with it is. This movie just has way too many jokes, and it was kind of annoying for a pretty good portion of my experience. This movie was just trying way too hard to be as funny as Ragnarok. It felt like you could feel a bead of sweat roll down Taika Waititi's ass crack after every joke was delivered. That shit just wasn't funny at all. It was so annoying. And sure, you could be the guy who liked the movie and you could just sit here and be like, oh, well, comedy's subjective, Tony. And I can say, I'm gonna fucking kill your parents, you little shit. Oh, but comedy's subjective, so I bet some of y'all were fucking busting your ass when I told him I was gonna kill his parents, huh? I'm sorry, I just really hate when people use that as an excuse all the time. You can argue that comedy is subjective, but so is every single art form in existence, and yet you're watching me right now make a review and put a number score on a popular movie. Even people who like this movie will probably agree that there are way too many jokes in it. One of the main jokes is screaming goats. This movie really thinks that screaming goats is like the funniest shit ever. I remember Screaming Goats Vine from a decade ago. Yeah, it feels like this movie's trying to resurrect it from the dead, and Screaming goats are just not funny at all. They're not fucking funny in any sense. And that's the main issue with this fucking movie, is that jokes are littered throughout the entire movie. There's almost no scene that doesn't end in a joke or have a joke in it. For example, something starts happening and then Korg just keeps saying shit and he just won't shut up after that. He's funny in the last movie because he barely spoke, and when he did, it was unintentional comedy, and he didn't hijack scenes just to make the fucking ha-has happen. I'm sorry, but they did my boy Korg so fucking dirty, and that's just a damn shame that he had to come to this. For the most part, for me, it's the quantity of the jokes, not so much as the quality of them. Usually the comedy aspect isn't the reason why everyone's coming to see a fucking Marvel movie. These movies aren't usually so heavily reliant on jokes, and the ones that usually do fall apart in movies, you can just brush past. But it's just too much here. You can feel when a scene is going to end with a joke, and it does nothing but take away from the movie and kind of just make you numb to jokes. One of the only things I liked about the pacing in this movie is that the jokes definitely pipe down near the last third or quarter of the movie. I personally really liked the last chunk of the movie and really appreciated the performances we were getting near the end. Now, there were scenes that almost had no jokes in them, and usually those were the Christian Bale scenes, which I really enjoyed and I think worked for this movie. Christian Bale and Chris Hemsworth were the best parts of the entire movie to me, and it's only because you can just tell that they're having so much fun with the role. Thor didn't have jokes that always landed, but you can tell how much Chris Hemsworth is giving to the character, and when you see someone with that much passion having fun in the role, you can definitely appreciate it more as you're watching. And Christian Bale is arguably doing the best job here. I really liked his character, and I think that his scenes were really engaging for me. He was creepy, he was cool, and his motivations made way more sense than anyone else's in the movie. I just really liked him a lot. I'm one of those fucking morons who thinks that American Psycho is a great movie, so yeah, he was a good villain to me, and I think that MCU should have more villains like this, definitely. The action scenes were also pretty good. The black and white mineral fight scene and other sequences like it in the movie were very interesting to see, and I thought that they were very interesting concepts overall. I think that this movie really loves colors a lot. You should be able to tell from Thor's new outfit and almost everything else you see in the trailers, but this movie just loves colors, and I don't think it takes away from the presentation. I thought that as far as the actual look of the movie, it looked pretty good, but the presentation of the concepts within the movie were just fucking demolished by the amount of fucking jokes that are shown here. Now, I'm curious to see how many people feel the same way here, but I never really liked Natalie Portman in these Thor movies, and I still very much don't like her in this one. When she's first shown as Lady Thor, she was suave and confident, and yeah, that's how Jane Foster would act in the situation where she gets Thor's powers. After that, she has a much more emotional story to tell, and if I'm being honest, it just didn't do it for me, especially with the tone of the movie. Now, I get that for her character, it makes total sense for her to act the way she does whenever she does, but for Natalie Portman herself, she just didn't look comfortable at all with this role, and kind of with Marvel's style of acting, because a lot of characters are kind of written like this. The goofball mixed with the quirky Marvel character thing just never seemed to be like something that would fit for her. She's always felt sort of out of place in the MCU. Natalie Portman herself definitely has good performances, but it just never seemed like her range could make it to the Marvel atmosphere. When she's fighting and doing her thing, I didn't mind it, but when she started talking, it definitely took away from the movie for me. Besides all of the other issues, this movie was trying to be cute, and I can at least appreciate that, and it being cute makes for a fun experience, but if the real goal of the movie was just to be cute, then it'd be fine, but unfortunately the goal of the movie is to be fucking funny, and it just isn't after a while. I think a lot of people definitely expected this movie to be as good as Ragnarok. What made the movie so funny in Ragnarok and so good is all the stuff that the movie couldn't have or couldn't incorporate into the story. Things like Loki, Jeff Goldblum, and the Hulk are all elements that were used to make comedic scenes and good, fun dynamics between characters. All of those actors can and have been funny in multiple movies. But sadly, they aren't available in this movie, and they're not a resource that this movie can use to rely on to make it good. So, in the end, I think that this movie ended up being something that I don't actually really hate, but I don't think I can actually ever fully love either. The last third was my favorite part of the whole movie, and I had a good time watching it. Everything before that and building up to it was just a little frustrating to me. It's a shame because I think that buried under all these unnecessary jokes and other shit that this movie definitely didn't need is something good and something that we could appreciate as far as Thor films. This movie also had great concepts, but most of them were just not presented well, and I just think overall just kind of make the movie stinky. So I'm gonna go ahead and just wrap this up and give Thor Love and Thunder a 6 out of 10.